So much more work than you probably think. I'm joined from New York by Kate Taylor. She's a staff writer for Entrepreneur.com covering food. Good to see you, Kate. Let me talk about this. We talked about jobs earlier. We just showed about startups with restaurants. Explain the role and relationship between the two, because a lot of people put those two together.
Well, I think, as you said, restaurants are a huge job creator. 1 in 10 Americans work in a restaurant at some point in their life. And looking at franchises, just franchises alone, most of the franchise industry, most new jobs are in restaurants. So you take, in addition to that, independent restaurants, it's huge. It's definitely one of the largest sectors for new jobs in America.
This minimum wage increase we've been talking about since the beginning of the year, a lot of people say the restaurant industry gets impacted. But at the same time, some say, look, a lot of tips are involved, so they don't get hurt. Somewhere in the middle is probably the truth, right?
Definitely. And I think that minimum wage, it is going to affect restaurants. A lot of people who own restaurants are very concerned about it. But I think as it changes across America, there are going to be issues, but the money is going to have to come from somewhere, and maybe menu prices will go up. But in the end, restaurants are going to have to make the change. So I think that in the end, even with thin profit margins, they will survive even if minimum wage
they'll survive
up.
because we all want to eat.
We all need to eat.
Now, on a more serious note, there's been this trend of being healthy, and I think a lot of people say they want to eat healthy, but if you're like me, you end up just eating junk food anyways, so it doesn't really matter. You have looked at the trends of what is going to be the popular foods coming in 2015, so I'm going to let you talk about where you see this going towards.
Yes, I think that not just eating healthy, people want to go places that make them feel like they eat healthy. For example, if you go to Chipotle, there's a lot of branding with that chain where it's fresh, it's sustainable. Even if you get a burrito and it's 600 calories, you feel like you went somewhere that's much more locally conscious, much more healthy, even if you're eating more calories and more fat. So I think that that's going to be something that's coming across the industry. Even McDonald's is looking at having new platforms where they have higher quality burgers, where you're able to make different choices with what you're eating.
Kate, that brings up a very good point, because McDonald's is having a little bit of a tough time. We've seen in their earnings about trying to get more people into stores. And up there in New York, Shake Shack, for example, they're planning to go public. And last I checked, it wasn't all that healthy necessarily. So is it about healthy foods, or is it about good foods, or is it about just marketing?
I think it's about a mix of both. I think that having good food, Shake Shack really has always emphasized having high quality food. So even if you're eating a really good burger, like a very fattening burger, you feel like you are, if you go to Shake Shack, you're kind of indulging yourself and you're having a good meal, even if it's high calories. If you go to McDonald's, I don't think anyone goes to McDonald's and then is like, wow, like I really treated myself today, which is kind of their image.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut after that comment. Look, the other thing is this farm-to-table trend. I'm very skeptical, because last I checked, most of our food comes from farms anyways, but this is about getting it from the farm quickly to the table trend, right? And a lot of restaurants are jumping in on this bandwagon. Explain what that is.
I think, again, it is more locally grown food, higher quality ingredients. So it's a little bit of a catchphrase where people can hear the keyword farm to table and they immediately think that it's healthier, that's more sustainable. And in a lot of cases it is. But I think more and more you're going to see different chains, different restaurants stretching the boundaries of that, where you don't necessarily look into what it means, but you feel better about yourself going to eat there.
Very quickly, the economy has gotten better. We just talked about the jobs report, and a lot of people say with that comes with more eating out, right? So to you, the question is, does this mean this is going to be a good year for restaurants as long as the U.S. economy continues to recover?
I hope so, and I think so. I think it's going to be interesting. As the economy recovers, chefs are making more interesting meals because people aren't just going to their comfort foods. So I think it's going to be a good year economically, and I think it'll be a very interesting year in terms of what we see on menus.
Appropriately, last question. Favorite dessert trends? What's going to be the biggest trend in desserts this year?
I was very partial to the dessert mashups, the cronut last year. I think next year I'm hoping more with ice cream and gelato.
All right. Very good stuff. We will leave it there. Kate Taylor, thank you very much for joining us from New York City. Have a great weekend.